Hey everyone, it is Rachel with Living Life Rural, and today we are going to be talking about the five biggest seed starting mistakes that I've made and I've had other people ask me about, and what we can do to like combat these mistakes and how to avoid them. So, you might think that seed starting seems really daunting. So, you want to plant your own vegetable seeds this year and have your own seedlings that you can just grow and plant out in your garden. Because let's be honest, they are expensive at the store, like at a farm store or a big box store. Um, those things are like over $5 now. And that really adds up, especially if you're planting a garden of any sort of larger size. Those add up super, super fast. Um, and it's just fun to start your own vegetable seeds, right? And flower seeds can save you a lot of money, and it's fun. It's a good project to do with your kids. And for me, it's also one of those things that, um, in late winter, like this time of year, so it's February when I'm recording this. This time of year, I'm getting that itch to garden and I want to get my hands in the dirt and I want to plant something. And it's just way too early where I live to be doing that. So I'm in Southeast Colorado. We can't plant warm weather crops until like towards the end of May. So it takes a while for that time of year to get here. So it's also one way that I can get my hands in the dirt and grow something before the actual growing season starts. Now, if you've tried to start seeds before and it didn't quite work out as you expected, it's not because you don't have a green thumb or it's not because um, you can't grow seeds or you're just not able to. Seed starting now, seeds have specific needs when we're starting them indoors and growing them. And they're not technical needs, they're not hard needs, they're just a certain set of needs that you have to do for your seedlings in order for them to get a really good start in life. Okay, to grow nice, strong seedlings that will produce well for you in your garden. So let's look at the five biggest seed starting mistakes and how to work through them, how to avoid them, etc. Okay. All right. So seed starting mistake number one: your seeds dry out during germination. So um, first of all, let's start with a container. You need the right container to start your seeds in. You see these peat pots up here. Those are probably the hardest container to start vegetable seeds. Why? Because they don't retain any moisture, right? Those pots are supposed to be biodegradable, which and compostable, which they are eventually, but you actually don't want to just plant those into the ground. But that's a topic for a different video. But they let the plant air dry out really quickly, let the soil dry out really quickly, and they don't conserve moisture at all. And so your plants dry out faster than you expect them to. Um, and so, yeah, so don't use peat pots, okay? Um, your seeds need to stay moist throughout the entire germination process. If they dry out during that process, there's a good chance they're not going to keep growing. Like, say they sprout or they start germinating um, even before they come out of the soil, and you let them completely dry out, there's a good chance that they're not going to rebound once you water them again. This is probably one of the, if not the most common mistake in seed starting that I hear about or see or have done myself. Um, you want, so see this picture right here. So this is your normal like seed starting tray. That's what this is too. It's just a little bit of a different type. We want to make sure that our seed starting medium, our soil, our mix, um, is covered during the germination process. That will help it to keep from drying out. Um, if you if you go buy seed starting trays at a big box store or a farm supply store or order them online, you're going to see something like this. It's going to have a bottom tray. It's going to have the little cells for the plants to grow in, and then it's going to come with a dome, which is what this is, and it's what this is. So this is just your typical like burpee type seed tray, or what is the Roots one that Walmart sells. Anyway, this is your typical type seed tray. This one is actually a biodome from Park Seed. I love the tray. I like the cells, and I love the dome. But I do not love the seed starting medium that came with this kit. So if you end up going to and ordering a biodome from Park Seed, don't use the little plugs that come with it. They did not work well. But that's beside the point. What you want is some sort of cover for your seeds so that the water gets trapped in there. You can see all this condensation right there. That is what we want. Now, you can go too far the other direction if you keep it so damp and wet in there that it can actually grow mold eventually. But you're much more likely to let it dry out than to grow mold inside your seed starting tray. So soil dries faster inside than people think. Seeds are planted pretty shallow for the most part, and so they lose moisture quickly. And a lot of times, beginners, this is something beginners think about, right? We planted the seeds, they're supposed to just come up. So if you've ever planted seeds and they didn't come up, or they looked fine and then they just dropped over dead, or you forgot to water, this is probably what happened. I like to make sure that I check my seed trays every day when they're germinating, and make sure you start out with a nice damp soil. You don't want wet soil. If your soil is very wet, like you can squeeze water out of it, that's way too wet. You just want a nice damp soil, and be able to conserve that moisture. Now, if you're using containers at home, like you're repurposing plastic containers at home, um, you can just cover those with like saran wrap or some sort of waterproof covering to make sure we're holding that moisture in. So now let's look at seed starting mistake number 2. All right, so this one has to do with lighting. One of the next biggest mistakes is a lighting issue after your seeds sprout or germinate. So you can see in this picture, these plants, these are tomato seedlings, I think. I think that, yeah, they're tomato seedlings. Um, See how they're all leaned over? Well, what happened is these germinated really fast, and I didn't have my lighting set up yet. And where I keep them doesn't get a lot of natural lighting. So they automatically just started reaching for the closest light source that they could find, which happened to be in that direction. Okay, now you can see I've got my lights on them here in this picture, and they are going to pop back up and straighten out and grow good. But you can see they're also even a little bit leggy already because I let them, even just a day, I let them go. I hadn't checked on them, and they were just reaching for that light. So for seed germination, you want to make sure you have your lighting set up right away. And you want to make sure that you're able to turn it on like immediately when those seeds are supposed to be germinating. Um, and in some cases, even before they're supposed to be germinating. So seedlings get leggy when they don't have enough light. Um, when the natural light isn't strong enough, or your seed starting lights aren't close enough, or in my case, they weren't even turned on. So you can use natural light to start your plants. Is it going to work as well as using seed starting lights? No, it's not for the most part, unless you have like the perfect window set up, okay? I don't, so I have to use seed starting lights, and I really feel like that using those helps my seedlings and my plants get a stronger start in life. You want to keep them really close to those lights, just a few inches, or to your seedlings, just a few inches off the plant. That way, it's not reaching for the light. It's just sitting there growing, building a nice, thick, strong stem. Fortunately, in this case, tomatoes are one of the few plants that you can recover from having leggy seedlings. A lot of plants you can't, but tomatoes are unique in that the whole stem will grow new roots if you bury it. And so when I potted these up, it worked out just fine. They were able to take off and grow and do great. So just make sure you have your lights in place ready to turn on as soon as you see that first seedling pop out of the ground, and make sure you adjust them as they grow. So let's talk about mistake number 3. And I apologize, I have a bit of a cold and I'm just trying to work through this video because I want to get it out to you guys because it's that time of year, right? All right, using the wrong planting medium. I should have put a picture on here of my favorite potting mix, but this is just a video I took of showing you what the difference of what the potting soil or potting mix looked. Seed starting mix looked like dry versus wet. I squeeze it here. You can see it kind of clumps together. Let me play that again so you all can see it again. It kind of clumps together a little bit, but it doesn't like form a hard ball or anything like that, and no water drips out of it. This is what I mean with for a damp soil. But so beginners, if you're new to seed starting, they often just assume dirt is dirt, right? I just need some dirt to grow my plants in. Well, that's not the case for starting seeds. Now, if you live where you have the most beautiful, richest, fluffiest, filled with organic matter soil, then you can probably get away with it. Um, but for most of us, that is not going to be the case. And we are going to need some sort of other mix um, to plant our seedlings into garden soil, just dirt out of your backyard. And heavier potting mixes, they can hold on to too much water. They can cause compaction around the roots and not let the roots form like they need to. They can reduce oxygen to your roots and prevent good drainage for your seedlings. And that is all things that we do not want to mess with when we are starting our seeds, and that can cause problems for us because seeds need moisture and they need air and they need uh, very light resistance, especially at first when they're starting to grow their roots, right? We don't want them to have a heavy soil to push those roots through because they're very small in the beginning, right? They're very fine, and we don't want to cause any resistance there. Now, if you're like me, it may seem counterintuitive because you're like, well, a weed seed falls in the ground outside and it just grows in whatever soil. True, that's what it was made to do. But you bring a seed inside the house and try to grow it, and it's gonna do everything it can not to grow 'em, I promise. But anyway, use the right planting medium when you're starting your seeds. My favorite is Fertilome Ultimate Potting Mix. I'll put a link to it down below. It's the best potting mix, seed starting mix I've ever used. I've tried Pro Mix. I've tried all of the ones that like Walmart carries. I've tried, back in the day, even used Miracle Grow and various other options, and the Fertilome is the best. Happy Frog, I've tried it. It wasn't as good. I'll put a link below so you guys can check it out. All right, so mistake number 4, over watering your seedlings. Now, this picture here, it is not my picture. I am not claiming credit for it. I got it from the Purdue University website. But it's just a picture that shows something we call dampening off in seedlings. Now, I realize I used this picture once, but I wanted to show you guys again. Well, let's start at the beginning. It's so you want to keep your seeds and your soil nice and moist while your seeds are germinating. But once your seedlings are up and going, you do not want to overwater them, okay? You want to let them dry out a little bit in between. We need to we need to make sure that we're providing our seedlings what they need, but also not over babying them, if that makes any sense, because we want to grow strong, healthy seedlings that we can harden off in the future and then plant outside, right? So, um, you might think that the best bet is just to have water to them 24/7, and that's not the case. We want them to go through times of a little bit dry, and then they get watered and go from there. Like, it's okay to let them dry out a little bit. And quite frankly, I have let my seeds go or my seedlings go far too long and um come home, forget to water them, come home, and they're all like drooped over, looking very sad. And it's like, oh, did I just ruin an entire tray of seeds? Water them, they pop right back up. Okay. So unless they're too far gone, that's a different story. But you're gonna do more damage by overwatering them than by letting them dry out a little bit. Overwatering can cause a root rot. It can cause your seedlings to just die, and it can cause dampening off, which is what this picture is right here. And if you look closely, you can see right at the base of the stem where they have, it looks like it's got pinched off and they flop over, and it just kind of, that part of the stem just kind of like rots away, almost shrivels up. That is dampening it off. And your seedlings cannot come back from that. So I put this picture of this tray on here again because I wanted to show you, make sure you saw that having a bottom tray to hold water underneath your seed starting cells, is the best way to be able to see if you're overwatering or not. Because first of all, you can bottom water. Instead of having to pour your water on top of your seedlings here, you can just pour it into this bottom tray and then they can soak up what they need. And then after an hour or so, if you still have a bunch of water in that tray, you can take it and dump it out. And then you know that your cells, your seed starting cells, your soil has gotten the amount of water it needs, but you can also see if there's a bunch left over that you don't want those roots just sitting in that water. So don't overwater your seedlings, let them dry out a little bit in between, and you're going to have healthier seedlings. All right, and one more seed starting mistake that I want to talk to you guys about is ignoring the temperature needs of your seeds and your seedlings. So, again, this is not my chart. I got this from the Food Gardening Network. I'm not claiming credit for this at all. I pulled it off their website as an example. So, seeds have different temperature needs. Now, a lot of your seeds are going to sprout within a pretty average temperature range. So it's going to be around 65, 70 to like 80-ish in there. Now, some of them um, are going to be outside of that range for their optimum range. And each seed has a minimum temperature that they'll sprout at and a maximum temperature that once that's reached, they won't sprout anymore. And that's going to be different for every single seed. But we want to make sure we get our seeds into that optimum range. And the best way to do that is by using a heat mat, like a seed starting heat mat. And I'll drop a link to one of those down below in the chat also. But it's kind of like a heating pad for seeds. You can just sit your container straight on top of it. It's waterproof and it will keep those seeds at an even temperature. Well, it keeps the soil at an even temperature by heat and subsequently the seeds at even temperature. So, um, so that is one way that you can help your seeds germinate quickly and evenly and come out strong right out of the gate is by using a heat mat. Now, the second part of that on the warmth side of things is that your warm season crops need warm temperatures to grow in, okay? So like if you plant tomatoes and peppers and the room that you're growing them in is only 50 degrees, they're not going to grow well. So you need to maybe um, you need to pay attention to the temperature, the ambient temperature in the room that they're growing in as well, and make sure that that's warm enough. Now, my house in the winter is about 65 degrees, and I've never had any problems growing my tomatoes and peppers and other warm season crops at that temperature. The other side of the temperature needs is that some seeds require cold stratification. And what that means is that they have to have a period of time where they are below a certain temperature for a certain amount of time where they might not germinate at all. Now, you're going to need to check the back of your seed packets for specifics on that. Things like milkweed, I think echinacea, and let's see, lavender maybe? Don't quote me on that one. Are all seeds that need cold stratification to germinate correctly. And so, if that's the case, depending on where you live, you might be able to leave them outside for a while. You might just need to put them in the refrigerator for a while, but you'll need to check the back of your seed packets to know which seeds need that and um, what temperatures and for how long. Now, your basic warm weather crops, tomatoes, peppers, um, even some of your cool weather crops, lettuce, peas, things like that, none of those need cold stratification. You just need to, um, a lot of, they're more like some flowers and some herbs that need that. So just pay attention. So I guess the tech gremlins wanted to strike and didn't want me to finish this video. So here's the ending of the video. Um, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this can answer questions for you. And I hope that this video can help you on your seed starting journey this year. Now, if you want more help with that, I have a whole free seed starting success guide that I made. You can grab the link below. It'll walk you through everything you need to know to how to start your own seedlings. Um, even has a little troubleshooting section, and it will help you get a great jump on your vegetable and flower gardens this year. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I am more than happy to answer them. There are no questions that are too beginner or too silly or anything like that, because if you're learning, you have to have some place to ask questions. So I look forward to I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I hope you have a great year gardening this year, and I'll see you in the next video.